What if I told you there's a thief, a silent one, and right this very second, it's stealing money from your wallet, your bank account, and your future? No, this isn't some conspiracy theory. It's a financial reality we all have to face. So how do we catch this thief? Well, like any good detective, we've got to start by looking at the evidence. Okay, let's start with something simple, like a night out at the movies. Remember 2010? You could probably catch a film for about 80 rupees. Fast forward to today, and that same ticket is going to set you back around 350 rupees. That's a huge jump, right? And trust me, it's not just our movie nights that are feeling the pinch. Think about your favorite food. For a lot of us, it's a good plate of biryani. Back in, say, 2005, that was a simple 40 rupee treat. Today, you're looking at 200 rupees for pretty much the exact same dish. That's 5 times the price. It's crazy. And look, this isn't just about small, everyday things. Ask your dad what he paid for his first bike. Probably something like 25,000 rupees. That very same bike, the same model, today, it's going to cost you close to 1.2 lakhs. It's the same machine, same engine, same wheels, but the price tag? Totally different story. So what is going on here? The movie is the same. The biryani recipe hasn't changed. The bike is identical. But everything costs so much more. It seriously feels like the value of our money is just vanishing. Which really begs the question, where did all that value actually go? All right, so who is the culprit behind this whole financial mystery? It's time to finally put a name to this invisible force that's draining our wallets. Let's unmask our suspect. And there it is. The culprit, the silent thief we've been tracking, is called inflation. I know, you've heard the word a million times on the news, but what does it actually mean? What is it doing to your money? Okay, this is the most important thing to get right. We all think inflation is just prices going up. But the better way to think about it, the more accurate way, is that the value of your money is going down. Every single rupee you have buys a little bit less today than it could yesterday. This slow leak is what we call a loss of purchasing power. And to show you just how dramatic this is, let's hop in a time machine. Imagine you found a perfect 100 rupee note from 1958. Back then, that was a lot of money. Well, today, the amount of stuff you could buy with that exact same note has shrunk to just 1 rupee and 20 paise. That is a mind-blowing loss of value. You know, a great way to think about it is this. Holding cash is like holding an ice cream cone on a really hot day. You might not see it melting second by second, but you know it is. Every year, you just let your money sit there without putting it to work. A little bit of its value just melts away. Gone forever. So, we've identified our thief, we've seen the damage. Now it's time for the real detective work. What's its method? How does inflation actually work behind the scenes? What's causing our money to lose its power? It pretty much boils down to 3 main things. First, you've got what's called demand pull inflation. It's classic supply and demand, right? Too much money chasing too few goods. Think about 100 people all trying to buy the very last iPhone. They're going to bid the price way up. Second is cost push inflation. This is when the stuff needed to make things gets more expensive. So if petrol prices shoot up, it costs more to bake biscuits and truck them to the store. And guess who pays for that? You do. And third, there's built-in inflation. This one's all about expectations. If everyone thinks prices are going to rise, they demand higher wages. Companies then raise prices to cover those wages, and boom, it becomes a cycle that just feeds itself. Okay, now that we get the how, let's talk about the real-world impact. This is where we see who gets hurt by inflation, and you might be surprised, who actually gets a little bit of help from it. Now, it's super important to know that not all inflation is created equal. A little bit, like 1 to 3%, is called creeping inflation. And economists actually think it's a sign of a healthy economy. But then you get walking inflation, maybe 3 to 10%. That's when you start to feel like your pay raise didn't really do anything. And if it keeps going up to galloping or the absolute nightmare of hyperinflation, well, that's when things get really destructive. And if you think that's just some abstract idea, think again. In November 2008, Zimbabwe's monthly inflation rate hit, well, look at that number. It's 89.7 sextillion%. It's a number so huge, it's almost impossible to understand. Money became so worthless that people were literally using wheelbarrows full of cash just to buy a loaf of bread. So, in this game, who wins and who loses?
Well, the biggest losers by far are savers, people holding on to cash, and anyone on a fixed income, like retirees and pensioners. Their money just buys less and less every single year. The winners, and this might surprise you, are borrowers. If you have a fixed rate loan, the real value of what you owe actually shrinks over time. Also, people who own real assets like property, and even governments with big debts, find that inflation makes everything cheaper to pay back.
Let's make this super clear with a quick story about two friends, Priya and Rahul. They both start out with the exact same amount of money, but their choices, they take them down two completely different roads.
So Priya plays it safe. She puts her 1 lakh rupees into a savings account that earns about 3.5% interest. Rahul, he decides to invest his lakh in a fund that averages about a 12% return per year. Okay, let's fast forward 20 years and assume inflation has been around 6% on average. Priya looks at her account, it says 2 lakh. On paper, she doubled her money. But in reality, because of inflation, her money can buy less than what she started with. She's actually poorer. Now Rahul, his investment has exploded to over 9.6 lakhs. He didn't just beat inflation, he crushed it. He's way, way wealthier.
What you just saw, that's the inflation trap. And it brings us to the most important question of all. How do you make sure you end up like Rahul and not Priya? It's time to talk about building your defense. Here are 5 real strategies. Number 1, and this is the big one, you have to invest, not just save. Your money needs to be in things that grow faster than inflation is eating it. 2, think about owning real assets, things you can touch, like property or gold, which tend to hold their value. 3, always be working to grow your income. Your power to earn more is your best weapon. 4, don't just pile up cash. Keep a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, sure, but put the rest to work. And finally, number 5, if you do borrow, be smart about it. A fixed-rate loan can actually become your friend when inflation is high. And really, that's what this all comes down to. Look, inflation isn't going anywhere. It's just part of how our economy works. The people who don't understand it end up paying for it. But the people who do, they can use that knowledge to protect themselves and actually grow their wealth. So now that you know how this silent beef works, you have the power to stop it. The only question left is, what are you going to do about it?